So I've got my standard React application here, some other packages I'm going to need, but I'm actually just going to start off by creating a store. It's really going to have nothing to do with React, but just to show you this app is actually set up here. Here's my horizontal rule. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to set up a class, and this class is going to be my store. And the store really is only going to have to be, it's going to be responsible for something fairly important, which is the state of the application. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to set this up so that if you want to create a store, you're going to pass in the initial state for the store. And that's what I'm going to end up setting this state as. So this dot state is going to be the initial state. And let's go over here and set up a store. So this is going to be our class. And we'll go over here and we'll say const store with a little s equals new store. And let's just say that our initial state, we're going to have some foods here and we're going to have some bars here. And just so I could see that, I'm going to say console.log store. And I could see my store, and in particular, I could even get the state of my store, which doesn't have anything in it. So, this is not all that interesting. What we really want to do is we want to be able to change the data that's in the store, but we want folks to be able to subscribe to it to find out when that data ends up changing. And the way that we're going to end up doing that is, first of all, we're going to have a method to dispatch to the store. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say store, I want to dispatch. And what do I want to do here? Well, just for the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dispatch a change. And the change is going to be what foods is going to be. So for now, I'm just going to say foods is now going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 after I end up dispatching to the store. Now this method, let me spell it correctly, doesn't exist yet. But I'm going to go over here and put this in. Dispatch is going to be the change. And what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to say this dot state. What I'm going to do is I'm going to splat out, instead of changing the state directly, I'm going to splat out what this state is. And I'm going to end up setting the change. So if we refresh this here, and I console.log the store.state, I'll see that I did this incorrectly. I apologize. This change that I'm passing in here, right? It's not just change. I'm going to splat out the change that I'm passing in here. I could change more than one thing, but this is the change that's going in here. So this will actually sorry about that. Let's do this. And so here I can see that foods ends up changing to 4. So I'm basically splatting out my change here. This is going to end up being my new state. Really what I want to do is I want to let people know about this change. So one of the things that I might want to do with this store is I might want to subscribe to the store. And when I subscribe to the store, what I'm basically saying is that if anything changes within you, store, I want you to let me know about it. And I'm going to go over here and say, just send me whatever your new state is. And I'm going to console.log the state. So I'm going to be able to take this out here. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to have to set up a method called subscribe that doesn't exist yet. The way that I'm going to do that, and this is a common pattern, is I'm going to have an array of listeners. And I'm going to go over here and I'll say, hey, look, when you're subscribing to the store, you're going to pass me a listener. You want to listen. And when you end up subscribing, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take whatever listeners I have, and I'm going to push you to the end of the list here. And if in fact there's any change that happens, I want to take all my listeners. I want to run for each on them. This will give me a listener. And I'm going to take this listener, which is just a function, and I'm going to send it my state. So if anyone dispatches, you have the ability to subscribe to it. And I'll end up seeing that I was able to subscribe to it. I could subscribe to it more than once if I want to. right? Now I'll end up seeing this 2 times. I could also decide, let's go over here, and let's make another change for bars. So now we've got foods and bars that are changing. Let's only subscribe once, so it's a little bit less noisy. Right? So we're just subscribing once, but I might want to have the ability to unsubscribe as well. So maybe down here I want to unsubscribe. Well, how could I end up doing that? Well, what I could do is that when you go to subscribe, I could send you back a function. So when you go to subscribe, you can unsubscribe. So I could end up subscribing to this, but then I could decide, hey, look, I want to unsubscribe from you, store. And again, the nice thing about this is when you subscribe, you have a function where you could end up unsubscribing. If I run this, this will be an error. Unsubscribe is not defined. That's true, because I didn't send up anything back from subscribe. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to return a function that you can call. When this function ends up getting called, I'm going to set my listeners. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to set my listeners by taking my listeners and filtering them. And I'm going to use an underscore here because listener was passed in. And as long as the listener that I'm looping over is not equal to the one that was passed in here, then it'll still be part of my listeners collection. So I'm resetting my listeners collection, but only if someone ends up calling unsubscribe. So what I should end up seeing here is that, and let's just make sure we ended up returning this correctly. We're subscribing, we're returning this function, and I think I just have a spelling error. Unsubscribe. And so here, we don't see when the bars end up changing. If I decided not to unsubscribe, I would see both of these. And this is a basic event listener where we can make changes to it by dispatching. We could also subscribe to it, and we have the ability to unsubscribe to it as well. And next, we're going to use this in a React application.